everyone, welcome to this video. Today I'm going to walk you through getting started using Ancestry.com to research your family's history. In order to get started with Ancestry, you need to have an account. Ancestry is not free, but they do offer several free trials if you are just now getting started and you want to explore before committing. I will put a link down in the description to a 14-day free trial for you. Once you have your account set up, the next thing you want to do is log in and start researching. I know there's a lot of information on Ancestry and it can be overwhelming to log in and see all the databases and what you need to look at. So I'm going to kind of break this down in a couple of easy steps for you. First, let's take a moment and look at the Ancestor or Ancestry interface so that you kind of know where everything is as you get started. When you log in, you will have this top bar. Over in the right is kind of all your administrative information, your account information, if you have messages from people and all of that good stuff. You won't have too much of that as you get started if you're new to this. Over to the left on the top bar is where you will have your links to your family trees that you create, the search pages on Ancestry. If you have done DNA testing, your DNA results are linked here as well. And if you want to get help, your account or something like that, they have a help link here. And then there's also an extras link so that you can buy any extra services from Ancestry that you're interested in. In the center of the page, your home page is basically going to show you your recent research or information about your ancestors or your family tree. And on the right-hand side of that home page, you'll have some quick links and some shortcuts to common databases that are available on Ancestry. As a new user, though, you more than likely are going to have a home page that looks more like the all collections search homepage because you haven't put any family history information in the system yet. So this is probably what you're going to look at. So once you have your account, you're logged in, now you know where everything is, it's time to start searching for records. How can you do that quickly and efficiently if you only have a couple of ancestor names? Let's take a look at what Ancestry offers for you and how you can do that. There are two ways you can start your family history research, and I'm going to walk you through both of them. First, let's say you have a name of an ancestor and you just want to search for that ancestor in records, do a direct search for them. Go to the search screen where we are now. And remember, you can access this screen by clicking search and all collections, information as you have. So I'm going to use Martin Luther King Jr. as an example, right? So I'm going to type in what I know about Martin Luther King. And this is what you would do with your ancestor. I know he was born in Atlanta, Georgia in 1929. And that's what I know for now. So I'm going to go ahead and click search. And I'm going to get a result screen for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The first section is always going to show you member ancestry trees. And this is a good place to start if you don't have a lot of information about any ancestors. But keep in mind that member ancestor trees is information that's been entered by a member. It may or may not be accurate, and it may or may not relate to what you're looking for. As a new beginner, I would highly suggest that you first start looking at official records. So if you scroll down a little bit on your search results screen, you'll start to see records such as census records, maybe newspaper records, also some public member photos and stories. But I am going to look for the official records, in this case, census records. So I see that 1930 has a census record. He is listed as a son in 1930. So we were able to find a census record pretty quickly here. The good thing about Ancestry is that they also suggest records to you. So on the right-hand side, Ancestry's bot has basically gone through their databases and said, hey, we think your ancestor appears in these records, and this is where they appear. Most of the time, this is pretty accurate, and sometimes it's not. So if you see something that's interest to you, you need to click in these records and see if that is actually the person you're looking for. So, for example, I opened the 1930 census, but Ancestry is also telling me that they have a record for Martin Luther King in the 1940 census. So I'm going to click that census from the suggested records, and I recognize this family. And so, yeah, this is the 1940 census as well. So that's another official record that I was able to pull very quickly. Now, because you're researching genealogy, though, you're probably going to be going backward, not forward, because you want to build a family tree. Who were his parents? Who were their parents? So I'm going to go back to the 1930 census, and from this search results profile page, I am going to click on his father because I want to go back in history, right? I want to find out who was Martin Luther King Jr.'s father. And by doing that, it changes the focus, Ancestry's focus, from Martin Luther King Jr. now to Martin Luther King Sr., his father. And the suggested records over to the right also are related to his father instead of Jr. So I see that his father was born in 1899, about 1899. So I want to look at a record close to 1899, 1900 to see if I can find his father with his father's parents. And 1910 is very close. That's just about 10 years. And so Martin Luther King Jr.'s father should have been about 10 years old in 1910. And here he is. So I can now see his father and his mother. So now I've added another generation just by following the links from my Ancestry search results. And I can click on his father and do the same thing and see if there's information about him that I can easily find, because this is getting started, right? We're not doing a deep dive here. So can I easily find any more information about Martin Luther King Jr.'s grandfather at this point? I see that he was born in 1862. The suggested records are not that much. I do see a 1900 record, and I clicked on that just so that I can see what his household looks like. And I see where he, has his spouse and several of his kids are living there. And at this point, I can tell where they're living. And by doing that, it also opens up a whole other list of suggested records, all the way back to 1880. So if he was born in 1864, it's a good chance that he is possibly living with his parents in 1880. So I could click the 1880 census and see if this is the right person. I would need to do a little bit more digging to see if this is the correct family, but if it is, then we have found him and his parents. So now we're back another generation, and it looks like his father was Nathan King. And I can click on Nathan, and I see he was born in 1830. And I can look on the right hand side again and see if there's any information that I want to follow or any links that I want to follow from Nathan. And so that is how you can build out a family genealogy just by doing a direct ancestor link. Your other option is to start building a family tree. So in order to do that, you would go back over to the top and select trees and then create a managed tree. Choose create a new tree, and you would enter the person, your home person. That's kind of like the center of your tree. So in this case, it is Martin Luther King, and you're going to do the same thing. You're going to enter as much information as you know about your ancestor. And the tree, though, allows you to start building your ancestry profile right away. And it also triggers Ancestry's leaf and hint search service where Ancestry does a lot of the work for you, just to be quite honest with you. And so I'm putting in as much information as I know about Martin Luther King Jr. I'm going to add the spouse, right? And I know that she is deceased. And so I'm not sure of her birth year, but I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. I'm just adding as much information as I know. And then it gives me the option to save the tree. If you make your tree public, anyone who you marked as living will be kind of blurred out, so you won't show their personal information if someone else were to see your tree. So at Ancestry, they have this great feature called leaves or hints. And as you add in your family members into your tree, you have to do this into your tree. This is why I think starting by building your tree is actually the better way to start. Because Ancestry has basically, if I click on Martin Luther King Jr., it tells me Ancestry has found about 22 potential records. And if I open his profile, I can go to those hints and I can see the records that Ancestry has automatically identified for me. Now, yes, this is similar to the sidebar, but how this is more helpful is that if you scroll down, for example, I'm new, so I am wanting to stay with the official records right now. I see that in the Find a Grave database, there is a record here. I scan it. This looks like the right person. I have the option to review that record. And yep, this looks like a right person. So I'm going to select yes, that this is the person in my tree. Then I can go through this record and decide what information I want added to my tree and compare it to what I already have. So anything that I want to update from the official record, I can just select, and it's going to automatically update my family tree. And I hit next, and it's also telling me that they identified the parents from this record, and of course the spouse, which is a match. They have her name listed as Coretta King, which is her married name. I'm going to keep her maiden name here, and I'm going to save this information to my tree. Quick, simple, easy. To see how this affected my tree, I am going to go back to the tree I created, and you'll notice that it automatically added a new generation for Martin Luther King Jr. and also a second generation because it gave me potential matches for his grandparents. So I would basically do the same thing with each of these family members to confirm whether or not these matches are the correct matches, and then Ancestry would update that generation and they would automatically look for the next generation, and you can just continue doing that until you build out your tree. So this is why starting at the family tree level is my suggested method for beginners. And then once you put in as many people as you can from your family tree, you can start to search specific records to build in any gaps that you may find. For example, they have Martin Luther King Martin Luther King Sr., and it says possible marriage records. So I may want to search for a marriage record to see if I can find a marriage between him and Alberta. So this is how you can use the features that are built into Ancestry to quickly get started. So quick summary: create an Ancestry account. You can sign up for a free trial. I will add the link down below, and they'll give you, I think, 14 days access to all of their databases, depending on the level that you choose. And you don't have to pay anything for the first 14 days, and you can start researching. Then you start researching. I suggest start by building a family tree, but you can start directly. If you choose to start a direct search for your ancestors instead of building a family tree first, I highly encourage you to eventually build a family tree. And then once you have gotten as much information as you can get quickly, and it's not a race, right? Genealogy research takes a long time. But once you kind of get your initial findings together, then you start exploring more records and taking some deeper dives into deeper databases to see if you can find more specific information about your ancestor, or to help you close those gaps that you may have identified, or uncover stories that you didn't know existed. That's where it really gets fun. So that's all you need to do to get started. I would just say don't be afraid of Ancestry.com. Start a free trial and go ahead and give it a try. If you want to see some more in depth instruction on using Ancestry.com, diving deep into a few of the databases, then definitely join me on Patreon. I will be doing some live Zoom calls to go over genealogy research and strategies. Now, I will definitely add in some deeper dive videos on Patreon that are longer than this, and it will take a little bit of a slower look and digging a little bit deeper into some of these databases and how to search through different databases. So that is over on Patreon for deeper dives. So make sure you join me if you're interested. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I'll see you on the next one.